Daniel Bryan and Drew Gulak had one of the best TV matches of the year on SmackDown 2 Fridays ago, so naturally, WWE let Gulak's contract expire the very next day. Because his contract expired, rather than him being released, Gulak wasn't subject to WWE's usual 90-day non-compete clause, meaning he was free to debut elsewhere as soon as last Saturday's AEW Double or Nothing show. That didn't happen though, and now we might know why. Along with yesterday's Monday Night Raw, WWE also filmed this week's episodes of SmackDown 205 Live and Main Event as part of the same batch taping. And according to Sean Ross Sapp of Fightful Select, Drew Gulak was in attendance for SmackDown, just when I thought he was out. Gulak appeared in the ring with over a dozen other wrestlers, but his brief absence wasn't mentioned over the house microphones at least. We do not know as to whether or not Gulak has re-signed with WWE or not, as the company officially announced his departure recently. Backing up this story, Gulak has been moved from the alumni section back to the active superstar part of WWE.com. But Drew Gulak might not be the only surprising person we see on the blue brand, as a huge main roster debut has been leaked. PW Insider has confirmed with multiple sources that NXT bro Matt Riddle is scheduled for a call-up to SmackDown in the imminent future. There have reportedly been plans to move Riddle to the main roster since before WrestleMania 36, but those plans were pushed back due to Steve Corino. Riddle is due to finish in NXT soon, perhaps even as early as tomorrow night's show, where he faces Timothy Thatcher in a cage fight with Kurt Angle as the special guest referee. Just when I thought he was out. PW Insider is also reporting that WWE were originally scheduled to tape yesterday's and next Monday's episodes of Raw in one go, but instead taped Raw, SmackDown, 205 Live and Main Event to fill out this week. Today they're going to tape all of next week's episodes. I'm even more confused about what time is now. And tomorrow, Wednesday, we'll see WWE tape 2 weeks of NXT to see them all the way through to NXT TakeOver in your house on June 7th. There is no reason given for this change as of yet. Something that definitely did change though is that last night's Raw didn't just open on the Performance Center, it opened on the sweet, much missed sound of about 20 to 30 people clapping at ringside. Because over 2 months into the no fans era, WWE have finally decided to kayfabe their own fans. Well, I say fans, it's almost entirely the NXT roster, but better off safe in the crowd than getting jobbed out to Bobby Lashley. Oh yeah, that still happened at the end of the show. WrestlingNews.co have revealed why it's taken WWE so long to make the change. Vince McMahon felt it was a bad look on the company to have so many people seated in the Performance Center during a time when social distancing is being pushed by the health experts. Vince McMahon, worried about his company looking bad. AEW has been able to get away with using wrestlers and staff at Daily's Place because everyone gets tested for COVID-19 since Jacksonville, Florida has plenty of tests available for anyone in the city who needs them. The other advantage that AEW has is Daily's Place is an open-air venue and the Performance Center is a small building where the virus can spread easily. The report also goes on to say that this change will be the new normal going forwards in WWE until they are allowed to bring actual fans back, with McMahon still holding out hope they can be back in time for SummerSlam. Thanks for your support on Patreon. Quoth the Regan, never Ford. There are plenty more stories in the wrestling world right now, including Marty Scurll being teased in the latest episode of Being the Elite, Japanese wrestling potentially starting up again next month, and McMahon's relationship with Roman Reigns. And with WWE taping so much content today and tomorrow, more returns, debuts, big angles will undoubtedly come out. Make sure you follow WrestleTalk_TV on Twitter and keep checking WrestleTalk.com throughout the day for more on those stories. But now it's time for the 25th of May episode of Monday Night Raw. in about 5 minutes. This was a very good episode of Raw anyway, but having just a minimal amount of people cheering on significantly enhanced the viewing experience. The first segment saw Kevin Owens using his Kevin Owens Show segment to further the women's division rather than any actual storyline for himself, which is rather frustrating, scuppering all of his WrestleMania momentum. Instead, Asuka stood tall over Natalya, Nia Jax, and the Omniflare. Setting up a three-way later on. After losing via referee stoppage several weeks ago when he injured his knee, Apollo Crews got another shot at Andrade's United States Championship next, and won! This is Apollo's first title in WWE, and Caruso alert! He cut a lovely babyface promo afterwards as Andrade trashed the backstage area. Unfortunately, the match itself didn't get much time, with most of it being taken up by a shrink screen ad break and, at one point, the show cutting to Angel Garza backstage where he told Kayla Braxton a wrestling match
very much like making love to a beautiful woman,
which rather undermined the emotion of Apollo's win. The Iconics cut a babyface promo in the ring, revealing they're not breaking up after last week's backstage slap and that they're still the rightful women's tag team champions, which brought out their actual tag team champions for Nikki Cross to cut an amazingly fiery promo. The Iconics went right back to being heels and beat up Cross and Bliss to stand tall. The feud must continue. But Nikki isn't the only Scot who can cut great promos. Scottish promo segue. Drew McIntyre wasn't messing about in MVP's VIP lounge, immediately tipping over the sofas and giving him a Claymore soon after. Bobby Lashley stared him down from the ramp. Caruso alert! Natalya had to take a phone call during her interview where someone told her on the other end of the line she needed to apologize more for trashing the KO show set last week. She looked sad, ended the call, and went back to the interview for Charlie to say they're all out of time. Savage Caruso returns! In a match I never knew I wanted, the incredibly charismatic Angel Garza beat the also incredibly charismatic Kevin Owens by attacking him before the bell and working over his knee. While I really like the idea of a KO versus Garza feud, it's frustrating to not see Owens further up the card after his WrestleMania momentum. In this week's episode of The Viking Raiders Misunderstand Sport, only on Adult Swim, Eric and Ivar couldn't play normal golf, so they moved to Crazy Golf, which they lost, and Ivar then tried to start a fight with a baby gator. You want some, baby gator? Giving it all that? Snapping? Seth's disciples, Austin Theory and Murphy, took on Humberto Carrillo and Aleister Black next. Guess who took the pit? It's Carrillo. Via Theory. Seth cut an intensely awesome promo afterwards, threatening to poke out Carrillo's eye if Black doesn't back off. Edge entered manly whisper mode next to build his match against Randy Orton at Backlash. Where impossible comes true, it's taking over you. This is the greatest match. They'll light it up, they won't come down. And the sun can't stop them now. Watching it come true, it's taking over you. This is the greatest match. Nia Jax, Natalya, and the Omniflare had a great three-way next to become Asuka's #1 contender, who was on commentary, complete with Jax going through the announcer's table and some excellent near falls and submission spots. But building on Jax taking out Kairi Sane last week, it was Nia who won, setting up Asuka versus Jax at the greatest wrestling match ever, Backlash. Wait, that's the actual pay-per-view tagline. But that doesn't make any sense. R-Truth and the Gronk are still feuding over the 24/7 title. I don't miss that belt. Liv Morgan blinked her way through another generic finding herself promo. There was a blink and you'll miss it graphic announcing Rey Mysterio's retirement ceremony for next week. What? Surely that's a bigger deal. And the main event saw the Raw Tag Team Champions, the Street Profits, take on MVP and Bobby Lashley in a really fun match that was mainly built around getting Lashley over as a WWE title contender rather than Lana's second for the last 6 months. WWE's favorite lame finish struck again, where Lashley was DQ'd for not letting go of the Master Lock block, meaning nobody really gets over, which brought out McIntyre for a brawl as the NXT recruits from the crowd tried to keep them apart. So much for social distancing. That was this week's Raw in about 5 minutes. Let me know what you thought of the show in the comments down below, because I'll be replying to people from outer self-isolation at Barnard Castle. This episode flew by thanks to the wrestlers in the crowd, with some very good wrestling, excellent character work from Seth, Apollo winning his first title, and a solid build to Lashley versus McIntyre. This week's Raw is core. John Cena is rumoured to have made a heartwarmingly huge donation to Shad Gaspard's family. Click the video on the right to find out more. And does funny draw money? Click the video beneath that to watch Adam Blompier and Luke Owen talk about comedy wrestling on WrestleTalk clips. And go to WrestleTalk.com to find out more about all those stories we spoke about earlier. I've been Ollie Davis, and that was wrestling.